Good morning. I'm Jordan Goldman, the Associate Principal at Santa Fe High School. I welcome you to this very special event in honor of our veterans. Please stand for the pledges and our national anthem presented by the Santa Fe High School Choir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now for the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Today we are here to honor those that have served our country and given their lives so that we may live in freedom. Our gift of freedom and of those who gave all to make sure future generations continue to know life in a free, democratic society is not free. It is built on a foundation supported by our veterans. For this we thank our veterans. What is Veterans Day? Proclamation 3071 was signed on October 8, 1954 by President Dwight D. Eisenhower, officially recognizing November 11th as Veterans Day. This date marks the anniversary of the ending of World War I. Veterans Day is the day set aside to thank and honor all those who served honorably in the military, in wartime or peacetime. Veterans Day is largely intended to thank all living veterans for their service, to acknowledge that their contributions to our national security are appreciated, and to underscore the fact that all who served, not only those who died, have sacrificed for our country. Today, as a grateful nation, we pay appropriate homage to the veterans who have contributed so much to the preservation of this nation. Ms. Carly Custer, Veterans Day Coordinator for Santa Fe High School, will introduce our honored veterans and the reason behind our flags.
Hi, I'm Carly Custer. I'm the coordinator for the Veterans Day ceremony here at Santa Fe High School. The next part of our program, we're going to discuss two special flags. The first is the American flag, and the second is the Prisoner of War, or POW, and Missing in Action, or MIA flags. So first is the American flag. The flag of the United States is one of the nation's most widely recognized symbols. The 50 stars on the flag represent the 50 states, and the 13 stripes represent the original 13 colonies that rebelled against the British monarchy and became the first states in the Union. The POW flag, or Prisoner of War flag. In 1971, the wife of a missing in action serviceman recognized the need for a symbol for the prisoners of war and missing in action soldiers. The design depicts a silhouette of a man's head with a barbed wire and a watchtower in the background. Below the design, the flag bears the motto, "You are not forgotten." In 1990, the 101st Congress officially recognized the POW and MIA flag, designating it the symbol of our nation's concern and commitment to resolving as fully as possible the fates of Americans that are still prisoners of war, who are still missing and unaccounted for in Southeast Asia, and ending the uncertainty for the families of the nation. With the exception of the American flag, the POW MIA flag is the only flag to fly over the White House and fly continually over the Capitol's rotunda. Students and honored guests, please allow us to acknowledge some special veterans from Santa Fe Independent School District. We pay special tribute to them today, along with the millions of veterans nationwide.
My name is Walter Braun. I'm the Chief of Police for Santa Fe ISD. I served in the Army, National Guard, and Army.
My name is Brent Rucker. I served in the United States Army and Army Reserves.
I'm Mr. Tice. I served in the United States Army.
My name is Candace Wheeler and I served in the Navy.
My name is Mr. D. I'm a freshman biology teacher. I was in the Coast Guard.
My name is Mr. Wheatman and I was in the Air Force.
I'm Kimberly Pruitt and I'm one of the wellness counselors here, and I spent 10 years active duty Air Force before I transitioned over into the Air National Guard.
Okay, my name is Gary Freeze. I'm a 1969 graduate of Santa Fe High School. I'm enlisted in the United States Marine Corps.
My name is Chris Wheeler and I served in the United States Marine Corps.
I enlisted on May 4th, 1983, and served until July 1st of 2004.
I enlisted after college in 1997, November, and I enlisted, but it was a delayed entry, so I didn't get actually in until January of '98.
I enlisted in 1983.
In 1999.
I enlisted in 2004.
I turned 25 when I enlisted, so this has been like 14, 15 years ago. It's been a while.
6 months after high school, December 1996.
I enlisted in '69, right after graduation from high school.
I first enlisted December 20th, 1999.
Well, I went to Ball High School in Galveston, and I was a member for 4 years of the junior ROTC program there, and I really didn't have many interests or direction that I know I wanted to take after high school, and I really liked that program and the structure and what I learned, and so that kind of guided me towards the direction of enlisting, and I wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for that decision.
Well, both my grandfathers were in the Army, and so I always grew up appreciating the military, and I graduated from college with a degree in anthropology. I specialized in archaeology, and I had no money. So, I had a future looking at, teaching in colleges with no money to get a degree, so I was like, that's just not going to work. So I had to look for real opportunities for work. And I remember in high school, I had a classmate who joined the Navy as a linguist. And so that's when I thought, okay, well, I'm going to go check that out and see. And so that's what led me to go and enlist in the Army as a linguist.
My dad had served. The political situation, I guess, at the time also kind of encouraged me.
Right after high school, I wasn't ready to go to college, so instead of wasting my parents' money, I thought it'd be kind of an adventure to serve my country.
I joined the military because I didn't have a lot of money growing up, and I wanted to go to college at that point, and that seemed like a pretty good way to get in there.
So I joined the military so that I could have a career and to travel.
So originally I joined to pay for college, and after a few years of being in the military, I decided it was fun, it was something I enjoyed, so I decided to stay.
In 1969, Vietnam War was going. The selective service or draft system was in effect. You had your choice of either going to college, getting married, or getting drafted. So I enlisted in the Marine Corps.
I felt like there was never a doubt in my mind that I knew I wanted to join the military, and I knew that it was something that I had always aspired to do.
I picked the Army National Guard because the junior ROTC program at Ball High School was Army. I really respected my sergeants and the senior Army instructor there, and they were mentors to me, so that steered me towards the direction of the Army, as well as I had some buddies that enlisted, and we enlisted at the same time.
I pretty much picked it because that's what my dad had done.
I grew up on the water. I mean, I just felt like that was one to go with.
I picked my branch of the military because the idea of driving a little boat into a big storm seemed like a pretty good adrenaline rush. Seemed like it'd be a lot of fun.
I just like the Air Force. I don't know. Never really thought about it. I didn't want to join the Army, and I didn't want to join the Navy, and I didn't want to join the Marines. So that was kind of the only thing that was left.
So is my brother. He's 2 years older than me, and he joined the Navy. And so after talking to him about, trying to get a feel and telling him I was thinking about going to the military, he was like, you should probably go to the Air Force. Nothing against the Navy though, but yeah.
I had several uncles that served in the military. They were in the Army, and I chose the Marine Corps for it was a more outstanding unit.
I chose the Marine Corps because it was the hardest, and because the challenge that it offered to me was more than the other branches that I had spoken to, and I felt like I always wanted to be part of the best.
When I left the military, my rank was First Sergeant, which is an E8.
Oh, okay, well, I started out as a specialist E4, and then I left as a staff sergeant E6.
I started off as an armor crewman, and I finished as a captain in field artillery.
I was a bosun mate.
My title and rank was a boatmate first class, and the rank was an E6.
I was airman first class.
I retired as a E7, a master sergeant.
Okay, I was a sergeant, and basically classified material control center and messenger.
At the time of my retirement, I was a gunnery sergeant.
I served stateside during the period of Desert Storm and the global war on terrorism, and was activated to active duty and served at Fort Hood, Texas from 2003 to 2004, and worked in the Soldier Medical Readiness Center as we prepared the soldiers to go to and from Iraq and Afghanistan. So it was in direct support stateside for global war on terror.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I started off in military intelligence, so it's always a war. It's a war for information. So one of the first things I did was volunteer for an oversight Overwatch program that we had, an operation where our troops were in Bosnia. So it wasn't like a big war or anything like that, but we had troops shot at. They were in danger zone in Bosnia, Herzegovina, and Kosovo. So I volunteered for that first. And then later on, when 9/11 happened and stuff, I did volunteer for Operation Iraqi Freedom. So I was there for a year. I was in a combat support hospital at that time. So yeah.
1971, I went to Westpac for 16 months. I served in Japan, Okinawa, and Vietnam.
I served in Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom.
I have a lot of memorable experiences, both good and bad. It's kind of hard to. One that was very impactful was in 1987. I was my military specialty was a combat medical specialist, so I was assigned to an ambulance crew at Fort Hood, Texas, and we were the first in on a helicopter crash that ultimately killed 10 soldiers, and we were able to approach the burning aircraft and start pulling soldiers off, and We got 3, and we couldn't return back due to the fire. Burned our hair off our arms, face, and we wound up doing CPR on one of the soldiers, but he ultimately succumbed. So that was impactful.
Well, there's a lot of them. Well, one of the funny ones I remember was when I was in Iraq. I was a chaplain's assistant, so my job was to provide security for my chaplain and to help the chaplain to do what he needed to do to provide spiritual, mental, emotional support to our unit. But one of the things that he got us doing was doing humanitarian aid missions into Crete, near where our base was. And so we worked with a different unit. We worked with the 3rd Infantry Division. And so what we would do is we would hop over to the main bases there, and we would grab supplies and things like that for the locals. And we would load them up onto Humvees and go take them over to a couple places. One was to Crete Teaching Hospital, and the other one was a school for disabled children. So a lot of them were deaf and had other disabilities. And so I remember one time we're going out there and they asked me, hey, you want to drive one of the Humvees, to go and drive around and make. I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds like great. That sounds like fun. So I get in, I'm driving, and we're going down roads, there's IEDs and all this other stuff going on. So I'm trying to remember all my training, and I'm keeping my distance, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, right? Go through, make our stops, make our visits, say hi to people, drop off supplies. We get back, and then I think it was one of the NCOs came out and goes, did you take that Humvee out of the gate? And we were like, yeah, it was part of the convoy and everything. It's like, man, that thing's not up armored. You weren't supposed to take it out. It doesn't even have bulletproof glass in it. And so one of my bucket lists was basically to be able to go out and drive out on the roads and be a part of everything, right? And so I realized at that point I really needed to choose my bucket list items a little more carefully, because it was one of those things where it's only when I got back I realized that could have gone really bad. But the experience was great because I got to spend time with kids, got to go to the hospital, and they were hurting bad for supplies. So it was one of those things where kind of the ability to help. I mean, it was like we could see it. We could see the people who were helping. I'll never forget it.
Whenever we would drive the boat, like at nighttime especially, sometimes you'd fall asleep with the helm and people would get thrown out of their racks, but it's okay. We got right back on track. That was probably the most memorable thing.
Most memorable experience probably be the first case that I ever went on. There was a big storm that rolled in. The waves were high, the winds were high, everything was just getting out of control. A boat came in and it missed the entrance to the channel. So collided with the rocks. The first mate flew through the center console. He broke his arm, had a heart attack, and some other complications that happened. So we had to go out into the storm. We couldn't get our boats really close enough just because the weather was so bad. So we had to make a jump from our boat to their boat, get the guy stabilized, and then figure out a way to get him back onto our boat.
I would have to say most memorable would probably be when I was stationed in Korea. I did 2 tours in Korea, and I think the entire experience, like both years that I was there, was very memorable, I have to say. Just because of the people there. I met some really good people, and as a matter of fact, I still keep in contact with some of those people.
Most memorable experiences is after 2 weeks in country or in Vietnam. We flew 1,000 sorties, 1,000 bombing missions, and 1,000 tons of bombs. Okay, and the VC NVA rewarded us by giving us 200 rockets and mortars the next morning. So that was a very exciting moment.
Yeah, I'd say my most memorable experience about my time in the military was being a drill instructor and the pride that I had in creating Marines.
It was 21 years and some change.
A little over 8 years. So I was in a weird situation where you have, every time when you enlist or when you become an officer, you have an 8-year obligation. And so my 8 years ended like right about the time that we were to be coming back from Iraq and stuff like that. So they tacked on a little extra time for me to spend in order to get all that taken care of. So I end up, normally people, it's, you know, you do 8 years, or, you know, it's an even number. Mine's like 8.5. It's a weird kind of situation.
Just a little over 2 years, 2 years and 2 months.
I served in the military for about 12 years.
For a total of 20 years, I retired in 2016.
I was 4 years.
I retired after 17 years.
Well, being a member of the Army National Guard, you serve part-time, so I had stints of active duty and reserve component time. So I had a parallel career. First is, since I was an Army medic, I became a civilian paramedic, and then later branched into law enforcement. So it's been, whether it's military or in my civilian career choice, it's been public safety oriented. So one complemented the other.
Okay, so after the service that I put there, so I was in seminary while I was in the Army Reserve because I wanted to be a chaplain. And so I was actually mobilized and deployed to Iraq in the middle of my semester. In fact, I just started 2 weeks into my semester, and then I got the call. And so what I did was I finished up my degree, and then I actually started doing some clinical pastoral education in hospitals in Fort Worth and also in Corpus Christi. And so I did hospital chaplaincy for a while. And then after that, I came down here to the Houston area and became a corporate chaplain for around 20 different companies here in the Houston area. And so I used to drive around to different companies and make visits. So I visited you know, everything from construction companies to home builders, you know, automotive, you know, what do you call those, auto dealerships, oil and gas offices, the whole bit. And so that's what I did, and I really wanted to be a military chaplain, but didn't really work out that way. And so instead I came on this side, and that's what brought me here to this area to be here. And I was actually for a while half-time as a chaplain and half-time as a counselor. And then May 18th happened, 2018, and I was I'd already you know, served some people from the area before when it happened, and then when it did, it brought me right here. So I was asked to be part of the Resiliency Center on the day after it happened, and I've been there ever since. And then when the job here opened up, I applied for it, and so I've been here, like right here with y'all, as a result of that. So that whole journey ended up here.
When I left the service, there was a program called Troops to Teachers where they were encouraging soldiers leaving the Army to take up teaching careers, and I took advantage of that program.
Oh, I'm here, teaching.
After the service, I went directly into college. And, yeah.
After the service, I worked for Pepsi for a while. I was a pest control guy for a while. I worked in the oil field for a couple of years. So I did a lot after the service. And then after the oil field, I went to school to teach.
After the service, counseling, actually. I decided, you know, to go to school because that was one of the reasons why I joined. So to go to school while I was in there and then finish up my counseling degree. And once I retired, I transitioned over into a counseling career.
When I got out of the Marine Corps, I went to work at an oil refinery. Worked in an oil refinery for 41 years. I was also a volunteer fireman, industrial firefighter, confined space, high-angle rope rescue person for 25 years.
I was fortunate enough to get a job with Santa Fe ISD, where I graduated from high school.
Well, I said earlier on that I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for my experiences there. I think that holds true even today. The military experience taught me a lot about responsibility and accountability. I learned a lot about leadership, a lot about teamwork, and that's instrumental in whatever career choice you make, whether it's choosing the military or choosing to do anything. those are very important things that I learned early on, and I wouldn't have had those had it not been from a military experience.
Well, I would say probably this might not go over so well, but the first thing I'd say is don't trust your recruiter. One of the things they used to do when we were in basic training, and they'd be out smoking us, and things would be really rough, and it would just, you're about thinking, okay, maybe I think we made a mistake, shouldn't be here. Anytime you said thank you, drill sergeant, or something, they would say, don't thank me, thank your recruiter. And so it was one of those things we all would talk, and we'd all share stories in basic training about all the things our recruiters told us that were completely wrong, and that they knew better with. But I would say it's a great thing to consider, because there's so many things you need to consider. And people join the military for a lot of different reasons. A lot of them want to serve their country. They want to, sometimes it's an honor to other family members who have served before, to continuing tradition. For other people like me, I thought military people were too great. I mean, a lot of people I idolized were in the World War II generation, and I felt like they were so far above me, I could never do that. And so I kind of went into it after college kind of thinking, well, I'm going to take a look at this, because I know that the job sounds great. It sounds exciting, it sounds hard. And it was by talking through with a recruiter, ironically, it's one of those things. I talked with a recruiter, and then I realized it started coming into focus. And so what I would say is, there's many reasons why people join, but some of the biggest benefits with enlisting in the military is that it's very much job focused. So you can get an idea of like what kind of things you like to do, and then you can also start to plan ahead about how that job in the military will lead to another job afterwards and give you a career. And you may not have a career in the military, you may not go 20 years there. You don't have to. I knew a lot of people who made a lot of money as linguists because they left the military after 5 or so years of service and became civilian contractors. And so they did their same job but got paid a whole lot more money. And so, and then beyond that, there were a whole ton of opportunities they got out of doing that. So yes, they served their country. They got to experience the world. There's a lot of things they got to do in addition to really setting themselves up for their life ahead. And some of the people that I served with, were from tiny towns all over the country. You had people that some of their classmates never thought they would amount to anything, and yet they were able to prove them wrong. They were able to do amazing things. They were able to see the whole world. They were not held back because the military gave them that opportunity. And so I would say it's something you really want to consider. I think everybody should consider it. But you want to ask a lot of questions. You want not just to get the information from a recruiter, but you want to ask your local veterans. We've got some other veterans here, as you know, and we have very different experiences, different reasons why we joined, but we're a wealth of information for you too. So we can help you pinpoint it, and have a real good sense of where you want to go, what job you want to do, how you want to take advantage of these opportunities, because it is an enormously good opportunity for a lot of people.
I think it's a pretty courageous thing to do, and should just go with it.
Advice I'd give would be to look into the branch that you're going into. If you hate the water and you can't swim, you might not want to join the Coast Guard or the Navy. If you're scared of heights, don't join the Air Force. Just kind of look into what they do before you sign up.
Air Force. Join the Air Force. Not because I'm biased. Okay, a little bit biased because I joined the Air Force, but seriously, enjoy. If you decide to go, get a job that you like, number one, and number two, enjoy the experience.
I encourage them to first off look at the military academies. We've had 8 students go directly from Santa Fe High School to the military academies. We've had another 10 or 12 students that went through 1 year of college and then was accepted into the military academies. That's West Point, Annapolis, and the Air Force Academy. So I encourage everybody to look into that first. However, you have some students that feel that they don't want to go to school anymore, that they want the military to go have them travel around. So I advise them to be sure that, be advised that the military operates just like the school system. The higher your grades, the more privileges you get. You're top of your class, you get your choice of duty stations, and you get promoted. So that's what I advise them. Be prepared to be on top. Be number one in your class.
I would say the best advice I could give is to choose your path wisely. Once you get there, listen to your leaders and always give 100% of yourself, because nothing you do in the military is only for you. It's for you, it's for the person beside you, and that's why you're there.
Freedom is not free. I watched the flag pass by one day. It fluttered in the breeze. A young soldier saluted it, and then he stood at ease. I looked at him in uniform, so young, so tall, so proud. With hair cut square and eyes alert, he'd stand out in any crowd. I thought how many men like him had fallen through the years, how many died on foreign soil, how many mothers' tears, how many pilots' planes shot down, how many died at sea, how many foxholes were soldiers' graves. No, freedom is not free. I heard the sound of taps one night when everything was still. I listened to the bugler play and felt a sudden chill. I wondered just how many times that taps had meant amen, when a flag had draped a coffin of a brother or a friend. I thought of all the children, of the mothers and the wives, of fathers, sons, and husbands with interrupted lives. I thought about a graveyard at the bottom of the sea, of unmarked graves in Arlington. No, freedom is not free. Now, please welcome Mr. Kinzer.
Please take a moment to remember all the veterans, especially our fallen former Santa Fe High School graduates. William Lee Meek, Arcadia High School class of 1927, U.S. Navy, died February 21, 1945 during the Battle of Iwo Jima. Warren H. Welch, Jr., class of 1939, U.S. Navy, died November 14, 1942 in the Solomon Islands. Leonard Tracy, II, class of 1940, U.S. Army Air Corps, died May 12, 1944 over Germany. Camila V. Scatone, class of 1942, U.S. Army, died January 7, 1944 in Italy, south of Rome. William H. Kannenberg, class of 1943, U.S. Army, died November 14, 1944, was shot by a German sniper in Belgium. Glenn McCarty, class of 1967, U.S. Army 1st Division, died February 20, 1971 in Vietnam from small arms fire at the age of 21. Robert Richardson, class of 1964, U.S. Army 198th Division, died in South Vietnam from an explosive device at the age of 27. Alan Oman, class of 1964, 1st U.S. Infantry Division. Alan died on September 5, 1968 in South Vietnam from small arms fire at the age of 24. We honor and remember these fallen Santa Fe veterans. Students, we thank you for your attendance and attention at our ceremony today. When you see our veterans, please thank them for their service. Freedom is never free. Have a beautiful day.